completely changed the trajectory of my life in a direction that I would have never expected it to go in if someone had told me a few months prior. But it just completely worked out, and now I have no doubt that this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing in my life. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Linda and I am a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, and I love helping others find purpose in their life's journey. Today, I want to talk to you about how it is that you can know how it is that you can figure out if you're on the right path, and if you are feeling unsure, some tips that you can implement along the way to make sure that you get there a little bit faster. So again, how do you know when you're on the right path? I've gone through so many periods in my life where I just felt completely lost, and I've also gone through periods in my life where I just felt so confident and had zero doubt in my mind that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Currently, that's kind of the phase that I'm in my life right now, but a couple of years ago, that was definitely not the case. I was feeling super lost. I didn't know what direction I was going in with my career, wasn't really very happy with where I was living. It's just like all of these different things going on in my life where I just felt like there was something more for me out there. And because I'm in that period in my life where I just feel really certain about where I am and that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, I've had a chance to kind of like sit and reflect and think back on those times where I felt really lost, and also think back on those times where I felt really confident about where I was. And I've kind of been able to figure out a pattern as to what makes those two things different, and how my own actions and my own outlook on life really changed between those two also. And when I was doing a little bit of digging on this topic, I actually ran across some notes from a class that I took when I was in acupuncture school, and it really kind of stuck out to me because even though I had learned about it back then, I don't think that I was really ready for it to sink in. But it totally applies to knowing when you're on the right path, and like those little subtle signs that you can start picking up on right now that will kind of help start to guide you in the direction that you're supposed to go in also. Maybe you are familiar with this theory or this philosophy. Maybe you're not, it might be new to you. I would say that it's probably more well known in a different term, but it dates back to Taoist philosophy, and it's called WOAY. This Taoist philosophy, WOAY, goes something like this. It says, "The way does nothing, and yet nothing remains unaccomplished." So think about that for a second. The way does nothing, and yet nothing remains unaccomplished. And so I was sitting with this not that long ago, and I realized that this is exactly the concept and exactly just the framework within which I was able to realize that this is exactly how I can point to those times in my life where I was going exactly in the direction that I was meant to go in, and how in those moments where I felt really stuck in life and everything was just stagnant, I had fallen out of this way. What Wu Wei really means is action through non-action. Or in other words, it means not forcing something to be true. Well, I know what you're thinking. This does not mean taking a backseat to life and that's how the path is going to unfold before you. More so, it means that you are not going to create any resistance in your life around how things should be in your mind or how things are supposed to look. It means like creating that space in your life for things to unfold naturally. So I want you to think back to one of those moments in your life where everything kind of just seemed to line up the way that it was meant to. All of like those weird synchronicities that happen in those moments in life where you were at the right place at the right time, or it was an unexpected encounter with someone that ended up being super important or significant to you later on. Maybe it was a random job offer, or an opportunity that led to growth in your career or in your personal relationships, or even inner growth within yourself. Or it could have easily just been some other unexpected opportunity. But the common theme in those instances is that everything just seems to flow. And what I've realized is that it's in those moments that the secret lies to finding your purpose and never feeling lost in your life ever again. So you'll know that you're on the right path, or when something is meant for you when there isn't any resistance around it. Well, again, taking it back to what I had mentioned earlier, it's that sense of flow or those little synchronicities just lining up that are kind of like those little like little seeds on the path that are kind of guiding you in a specific direction. When I've kind of like taken the time to sit with this, and this might resonate with you too, when I think back to those moments in my own personal life when this has happened to me, I found that it often takes the form of very specific interests that I have or hobbies, or sometimes it'll just be something that I'm naturally good at, or something that just for some reason that I can't even put my finger on sometimes just grabs my attention. Once you're able to embrace this concept of WOAY or letting go and not creating resistance in your life, you'll find that you'll start to kind of just naturally pull those opportunities towards you a lot more frequently. In other instances, it could even look like certain themes continuously popping up in your life, as if the universe is kind of giving you a little bit of a nudge to, hey, like, pay attention to this, there's something there. So back in 2016, there was an event that happened that completely derailed the direction that I was going on in my life. I had at the time been working on all my prerequisites to get into vet school. That's something that I had been wanting to do since I was a kid, and it just kind of popped back up in my life later on. And so I decided to start working on those prerequisites and see where it took me. I won't get into any details in this video, but this event happened in my life where it completely derailed me. I kind of put a pause on all of that. And even though at the time I had still kind of continued working on my own personal spiritual journey, I was still very much into fitness and nutrition and all of those other aspects of my own journey that I've shared in other videos, this event just completely put a pause on everything. To be honest, I felt completely lost for quite some time. I just wasn't sure what I was doing with myself anymore. It really took a toll on me emotionally and mentally and spiritually. And so, yeah, so there was a few months there in late 2016 where I just completely felt lost, and I just wasn't sure what I was doing with myself anymore. And then the following year, maybe sometime in April of 2017, I was having a conversation with my sister, and I was telling her how I was feeling, that I just wasn't sure about my future anymore, what it was looking like. She actually mentioned to me, or she recommended, that maybe I should look into acupuncture. And that's something that had never crossed my mind. I had actually never even had acupuncture before getting into the program, which catches so many people by surprise, but there was something there inside, like a little bit of a tickle of interest or something like that when she mentioned that to me. And so I thought, why not? I'll just go check it out. I'll keep an open mind. Maybe I'll like it and maybe I won't. I had zero expectations. And so I went to go tour the school, and I just remember feeling like a sense of glow, as if the whole experience, even when I think about it now, there was like a glowing quality to it where it just felt really good. It felt really good to be in that environment. It felt really awesome to just be able to see how the students were going around their like clinicals, or how the classrooms were set up, or just like the whole vibe of the place. And so I kind of just started to feel a little bit of a tug. And long story short, to kind of just exemplify this concept of the path of least resistance, or letting go, or just following that natural pull that is inside of you all the time, that does guide you in the direction that you're supposed to be in, I decided to submit my application. And throughout the interviewing process and applying and getting my transcripts and things like that, I learned that all of the prerequisites I had been taking to get into vet school were the exact prerequisites that I needed to get into this program. And I had my interview with the dean, and we really connected, and he essentially told me that if I wanted the spot, it would be mine. A few weeks later, I got my acceptance letter, and within a few weeks of this whole experience starting to unfold, I had registered for classes, and I was going to be starting that fall. So that's how quickly things happened, and it just completely changed the trajectory of my life in a direction that I would have never expected it to go in if someone had told me a few months prior, but it just completely worked out. And now I have no doubt that this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing in my life. And so again, you can kind of, when you're in those situations yourself, and I know that you can probably look back and think of a few different times in your life where you can resonate with what I'm sharing with you now. It's like that sense of a flow where things just happen easily, even if it does involve a lot of hard work. And like I said, even though this was such a magical time in my life, I did go through a pretty deep period right before that where I just felt completely lost. And this might be something that you're going through as well. So if this resonates with you at all, or you want to just kind of have some more tools in your toolkit that you can start using to just make sure that you're keeping yourself on the right path or finding the right path for you, I want to share these tips with you right now that you can start implementing to make sure that you get yourself there. The biggest key to reaching your purpose in life is to enter that energetic flow where things happen for you. But how exactly do you do that? What are some things that you can start doing now that will make sure you get into that flow? And if you happen to pop out of that flow because life is life, we're human, things are going to pop up, what can you do to make sure you get yourself back into that flow a lot easier? The first thing would be to surrender to each experience exactly as it is. This revolves around acceptance, accepting things exactly as they are and not wishing for them to be different. Because as soon as you start wishing for something to be different from what it already is, that's when you start creating resistance around it. And so by accepting and surrendering to whatever experience you're going through, you're also releasing the judgment of it. And by, again, releasing that judgment, you're releasing the resistance to the experience and wishing for it to be something other than what it already is. This is how you can start getting into the practice of non-resistance in your own life. And by practicing non-resistance over and over and over again, like with any other practice, it's going to be probably a little bit of a challenge at first, but you're only going to get there by practicing it and by reminding yourself and getting yourself back onto that path of practicing the non-resistance as many times as you need to. By continuously practicing non-resistance, you're inviting more of that energetic, free-flowing energy into your life. That continuous practice of non-resistance is going to get rid of any stagnant energy so much faster. And by getting rid of that stagnation that much faster, you're going to be inviting the opportunities and the scenarios and the experiences and the people and the places and the things that are meant for you. Number 2 is to let go. Let go of the expectation or the image in your head of how something is supposed to look, for how something is supposed to unfold. Having these expectations for how something should be or should look, those are all just feelings and emotions that are not going to serve you at the end. And again, it's going to start creating more resistance in your life if you have specific expectations for how something is supposed to look. By surrendering to each experience exactly as it is and letting go of the expectations surrounding that experience, it's going to allow you to experience things that you would have normally closed yourself off to. And the huge benefit to this is that both of these practices are also going to help you feel more connected to yourself. And I say self with like that capital S, right? I guess for you guys it would be like this, capital S. But yes, because it's that self that you have, that self that's inside of you, that's going to get you more connected to your intuition. And it's going to become so much easier when you're connected to yourself to be able to recognize those opportunities that are calling to you for a reason, and to be able to, more importantly, or maybe not more importantly, but just as importantly, it'll help you recognize those opportunities and those people and those places that are really not meant for you. Remember, you are only ever one moment away from the next biggest opportunity of your life, but continuing to put one foot in front of the other is the only way to get there.